All right. For to one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom. That is, the Holy Spirit gives to believers gifts or abilities, spiritual abilities to do things. And he's saying that among the believers, more ministries, among the believers, the Spirit gives some word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge by the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, and to another the gifts of healing by the same Spirit, and to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another discerning of spirits, to another diverse kind of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues. There are 9 gifts of the Holy Spirit. But I am looking at one of them, the working of miracles. I will talk about it for a while. All right? And if you look at the way it is framed, it's called the working of miracles, or the ability to make miracles happen. Do you understand? The ability to make miracles happen. So the first thing we want to look at is, what is even a miracle? What is a miracle? A miracle is a supernatural. When you say something is supernatural, it means that it is no longer natural. You and I here, we are natural. I'm looking at you. This is natural. It's here on it. When you say something is supernatural, you are saying it's beyond the normal, beyond the natural. It's become spiritual. Do you understand? So God is supernatural. That's how we don't see him. So a miracle is a supernatural intervention of God in the realm of the natural. Okay, let me put it in a very simple way. Is a supernatural happening in the realm of the natural where natural laws are suspended. Natural laws are temporarily suspended to make something happen in order to prove a point. Did you get that? So I'm looking for some natural laws that can be suspended. If I throw this thing up, what natural law happens immediately? The law of gravity. I throw it up, it comes down. But if this thing must be thrown up, but it's coming down, we cause a lot of disaster. Something else can happen that the law of gravity will be suspended and this thing refuses to come down. Just to save a situation. So you call it a miracle. It's not magical. Because magical is purposeless. A miracle is intended to generate faith in God and in his word. It's to save and deliver and generate faith. So from time to time, God wants to help people's faith. Okay, there is God. There is no God. There is God. There is no God. There is God. There is no God. Okay, God wants to help. The person who is saying there is no God has a reason for saying there is no God. So God steps in and does something beyond the natural to jumpstart the faith of the person. Wow, there is God. There is, do you understand? Yeah. So God does a thing to jump the faith of somebody beyond reasoning. Because the reason why the person said there is no God is because everything around him beats reason. And reason is important. So, without miracles, it will be impossible to relate with God. Did you hear that? Because if you take miracles out of the equations of life, then what is left is we always having to explain God. And how much of God do you know to explain? How can you even explain the person you have never seen before? So when you take the miraculous out of Christianity, Christianity becomes dead. So the miraculous is a vital part of our Christian faith. Our whole experience of God becomes empty stories when there are no miraculous interventions. So if God is coming into the equation, it simply means that miracles are coming into the equation. Do you understand that? So that's what a miracle is. And so you cannot talk about God without miracles, because God is supernatural. Every time the supernatural comes into the natural laws are suspended for a moment. Now, the reason why it doesn't happen all the time is because God is also the ones that created the natural laws. He created them for a purpose. The sun rises in the morning and sets in the evening, and it goes according to its time around the orbit. So scientists, geographers, all of them, they can calculate the time. When it sets, when you want to shift the time. So God is the one that created the natural sequence. That is why he's not always coming to suspend. When he suspends it, he lines it up again, because they are all part of his total existence. But what God has created does not limit the creator. So he's able to come in to alter things. So that is that about what a miracle is. The second thing I want to explain there is this. You notice that it says the working of miracles, which shows that every time God steps in from the supernatural into the natural to make a miracle happen, it looks as if there is a human agency that helps God to bring that to pass. So it looks as if God is the one that does the miracles, but he uses human agencies to make it happen. Somebody didn't hear that. It means that God can divide the Red Sea, but he needs a man to stretch out the rod. What if man does not stretch out the rod? So that's why he said miracles are worked. It means that is when it comes to the issue of miracles, It is a ground in which God and man can walk together. That shows that in my life and in your life, we can experience miracles if we learn how to walk with God. Because if we have come to agree that God works miracles, a man can walk with God to make miracles happen, it means that there is a place I can put myself that I can accelerate from time to time supernatural interventions in my natural life. Does that make sense? So that is why we are studying it. So what is the best way to study that? To say, okay, God works miracles. Without miracles, we cannot know God. And miracles can happen in my life. But it looks as if there is a level of cooperation that God will need from me to make it happen. So, how do I know that level of cooperation? The best way to study that is to look at the miracles that has happened before. So I look at how they happen. Maybe I can learn 1 or 2 lessons of how to instigate miraculous power in my own life. So that just like Abraham had stories of miracles, I can also have stories of miracles. How many of you would really like to have stories of miracles in your life? Because one thing we've seen about this life is this: what happens to one can happen to another. Another thing is that if it happened before, it can happen again. Another thing is this: anything that is, was. And anything that is, will be. These are basic laws of life. If it is, it was. If it is, it will be. Do you understand? If it happened, it can happen again. If one person got it, another person can have it. Come on. You know, these are basic. You don't learn what I've just told you now in the university. These are basic principles of life. And if you just understand it, it makes all the difference. So the best way to study this is look into the Word of God. Look at the different times where God worked with people. How did they make them happen? So that if we also can follow the same sequence, the same principle, we can make these things happen in our lives. Do you understand what I'm saying? And as I began to study the Word, I went to the Gospels. I said, okay, let me look at the first miracle that Jesus worked. And the first thing I saw, because the Bible talks about the first miracle that Jesus worked. Jesus was man. God worked a miracle, but through the hands of Jesus Christ. The very first one. And I discovered that what was very prominent in making that miracle of turning water into wine was the oppression of what many of us have always spoken against. Having a miracle mentality. And that is what I'm speaking about today. How many of you have a miracle mentality? You cannot experience miracles except you learn to develop a miracle mentality. What is mentality? That is grammatic. Mentality is a mindset. It's developing a miracle mindset or a miracle thinking. There's this thing they call positive thinking. I'm not talking about positive thinking. I'm talking about miracle thinking. That is, every time you are thinking miracles. You are thinking that miracles can happen. If you don't have a miracle mindset, you cannot enjoy miracles in your life. It looks as if having a miracle mindset is a trigger for the miraculous. Because of the scientific age we are living in and the mental age where everything must be calculated, 1 + 1 = 2, even those of us who serve God have begun to speak against the miraculous. Because if it doesn't make sense, then it is not useful. And if everything we do have to make sense, then we lose God. Because in God, there is sense in no sense. The miracle mentality, miracle mindset is predicated on a biblical principle that with God, all things are possible. It's predicated on that. I will explain that. I will explain that. If you are locked up in a room, you are locked up in a room. There's no door. No door to the room. The floor is concrete. The roof is concrete. All the sides are concrete. And you are inside. Two of you are inside. And you say, let's find a way. Let's find a way. And you go around and touch everywhere. And look up everywhere. And there's no way. What do you tell your partner? There's no way. Isn't it? So you just go to the wall and you just rest on the wall and you just collapse to the ground. And you sit on the ground. There is no way. All right. Partner, what do we do? There is nothing we can do. Why? Because there is no way. Do you understand? Because that is the reality. There is no way. But a person with a miracle mentality believes that through the intervention of another person above everything, that in that place where there is no way, there can be a way. So what does it do? There are two people in that place. One says there is no way because there is no way. But the other person, so the one that says there is no way loses hope. Say with me, hope. What is hope? Hope is the ability to look forward. That is, there is a future, there is a forward, there is something, expectation. Do you understand? So when you look around and there is no way, the first thing that happens to you is that you lose hope. But the person who believes that there is no way, but there is a superpower who can make a way where there is no way, is in the same situation. No walls everywhere. But because of that belief, there is still hope. I know something will happen. It cannot end like this. Something will happen. How? How? I just know something will happen. A miracle mentality does not let you give up hope. Having a miracle mentality builds in you a constant expectation, even in the worst situation. Somebody's not here today. Now you can understand the reason why the Bible makes some statements. Some statements we normally quote, For example, how many of you have heard this? God that makes a way where there is no way. What is the meaning of that? What's the meaning of that? All right, you've heard that, right? That means that he makes a way. Are there situations in life where there are no way? Truly, truly no way. Well, the miracle mindset is a thing that makes you in a situation where there is really no way. A person that has a miracle mindset believes that where there is no way, God can make a way. So until he dies, he's always expecting that there will be a way. How many of you have heard this word? God that causes waters to spring up in the desert. Do you understand? In the desert, no water, everywhere is dry. All you see is sand and just die. But the person with a miracle mentality is looking around. Are you stupid? What are you looking for? Are you stupid? You know why he's looking for something where there is nothing? It's because he believes that in that dry place, God can cause water to spring forth. Only people with a miracle mentality look for water in the desert. People with common sense don't look for water in the desert. And that is why miracles have nothing to do with common sense. Those of us who live only by common sense don't experience miracles. If it has to always make sense, then you will never experience a miracle. So that means that you will never put yourself in a if it has to always make sense, you will never put yourself in a situation where you are looking for water in the desert. You will never put yourself in a situation where you are on the sea and you are expecting God to create a road. Because it doesn't make sense. So if you find yourself in that situation, having a road inside the water is not one of the things you are expecting. But the person who has that mentality he says, Lord, I can't die in this sea. There must be a way. There must be something. Before I sink, maybe a fish can just come and swallow me and take me somewhere and vomit me somewhere. But there's always just something can happen here. Am I communicating? I think it's time to drink some water to that. Water in the desert. I'm drinking water. My wife is drinking water. Competition. Are you still here? All right. So, having said all that, I want us to look at the first miracle that happened in the ministry of Jesus. And that is John chapter 2, 1 to 11. John chapter 2, 1 to 11. I'm trying to do this as slowly as possible because when we understand something, it just makes a whole lot of difference. John chapter 2, 1 to 11. And the third day, there was marriage in Cana of Galilee. And the mother of Jesus was there, and both Jesus was called and his disciples to the marriage. And when they wanted wine, the mother of Jesus said unto him, they have no wine. Jesus said unto her, woman, what have I to do with thee? My hour is not yet come. His mother said unto the servants, whatsoever he said unto you, do it. And there were set there 6 water pots of stone, after the manner of the purifying of the Jews, containing 2 or 3 firkins apiece. Jesus said unto them, fill the water pots with water. And they filled them up to the brim. And he said unto them, draw out now, and bear unto the governor of the feast. And they bare it. When the ruler of the feast had tasted the water that was made wine, and knew not whence it came, but the servants which drew the water knew, the governor of the feast called the bridegroom and said unto him, every man at the beginning does set forth good wine, and when men have well drunk, then that which is worse. But thou hast kept the good wine until now. This beginning of miracles did Jesus in Cana of Galilee, and manifested forth his glory, and his disciples believed on him. Powerful. Remember that what I'm bringing out here is how having a miracle mindset helps us to work miracles. That's what we're looking at today. How you having a miracle mindset can help you to make miracles happen in your life. So now let's look at this story and look at how having, because the miracle that happened here was that water became wine. So I want us to see how having a miracle mindset made it happen. Okay? And it's very easy for us to draw. Remember, there was a party going on. And as the party was going on, the wine finished. I'm going to ask hypothetical questions. Am I allowed to do that? Okay, hypothetical questions. I have no biblical answer to this one. That's why it's hypothetical. But we can just ask it. Why did their wine finish? There was a wedding. Why did the wine finish? Was it because they had more guests than expected? Or was it that they expected more guests, but they didn't have enough money to make enough wine available? It could be any of the two. Do you understand what I'm saying? It could be any of the two. It could be that, because it's not like America. Those communities, if you're in a community, everybody goes to a place. So, yeah, you are just here, they are just doing party, you are passing by, you stop. So, yeah. You don't have to be invited. Oh, I heard that there's a music, so I stopped. So you can have a plan a party for 20 people and 100 people can show up. Yeah, it can happen. Up till now, it happens like that in my village back home. Yeah, so you don't say, you don't have a list of guests invited. No. How dare you? How dare you? Everybody comes to, yeah. So it's possible. It's possible that they were expecting to feed 20 people and 100 people showed up. Right. And it's also possible that they knew that 100 people would show up and they didn't have money to provide wine for more than 20 people. But in both scenarios, whatever they wanted to do was not stopped. They didn't have to stop the wedding to say, okay, we want to do this wedding. We can only feed 20 people, but we're expecting 100 people to come. So let's wait until we can feed 100 people. So let's postpone the wedding. A miracle mindset does not allow you to do that. A miracle mindset takes you to a level of behaving a little bit foolishly. To say, okay, let's do it. When we get to the bridge, we'll cross it. Come on, somebody is not here today. Our discipline in America is that if we do not plan for it, we do not do it. Are you here? That's our discipline in America. This thing I'm telling you affected my life when I immigrated to America. I'm just being delivered from it. You know, you can be bound and you do not know. I would have liked to choose the way God deals with me. But we are not allowed to choose. God does what he wants to do. Somehow, the way God deals with me, in fact, I have had to ask God, I said, God, why do you have to treat me like this? I don't like it. No, I'm telling you, I have, because when you don't want to be with me when I'm praying personally with God and you are eavesdropping, hearing me. When I'm really praying, there are things I tell God. It's like we are having a conversation. Say, God, I don't like how you are treating me. It is not fair. I remember telling God once, I said, God, look, if I were you and you are me, I would treat you differently. It's not fair. What do you think God will be thinking when I say that? He will just laugh, you know. So, yeah, because now, you know why I've said that? Because I would really prefer that if I want to do something I want to do something next week that will cost me $1,000. When I pray for it today, I expect, because God is not even telling me to do it. It's not even me. God told me, do it. Okay, I obeyed. Now I'm praying, God, you told me to do this. Give me $1,000 to do what you asked me to do. Is it not fair for God by Monday to put the $1,000 in my hands so I can start planning around it? God will not bring it. Monday will pass. Tuesday will pass. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, no sign of $1,000. Then suddenly I get 100 on Saturday that I need to spend it. I know what God is expecting me to do. God is expecting me to step out, to start doing what he asked me to do that will cost $1,000 with 100. No, I don't like that. But in my life and ministry, one day I sat down. You know, sometimes you sit down, you start looking back, right? And I started looking back, and I discovered that there is nothing God ever asked me to do that he did not provide for. The only thing that was different is how he provided it. So I'm now saying, how I wish I can just trust God. Come on, are you here today? It's like, the story I have told you several times. It's the simplest of the things that have happened in my life. So let me just tell it again. Can you imagine God telling me, go to Washington, D.C., travel to Washington, D.C. And I get to Washington, D.C., you are going to be there in Washington, D.C. to do something for 3 days. and you are going to be staying in a hotel. Okay, Lord, can you book a hotel for me? No money to book a hotel. Okay, I obey. Pick a flight, take my car and drive to Washington, D.C. and get to the front of the hotel. No money to pay for hotel. Is that fair? So I get there. Okay, God sent you here. And I'm there. And then somebody walks to me and say, excuse me, sir. Yeah. Are you a pastor? I said, why did you ask? He said, because as I was passing, I saw you stand there. I saw written on your forehead, pastor. Are you a pastor? I said, yes. He said, sir, I'm a Christian. The Lord just told me to ask you anything you want, I should give you. It's okay. I'll need a hotel to stay. Can you come with me? He takes me to the hotel. Sir, how many days do you need to stay in this hotel? I tell him 3 days. He books for the hotel 3 days. He goes. I look around. I don't see him again. He's gone. Did God pay for my hotel? What is the difference? He didn't give me the money. Are you here? So, my mindset as a human being, my mind is trained to count money. But the angel sent to help me does not count money. It chooses to give me, because what is important? Is it the money or the hotel? Are you still here today? Now, I'm just using that as an example. The story I just told you is exact. I didn't add anything. The only thing I've added is just I'm using DC. I'm using DC as an example. But this is real. So, and many of the things that happen when it comes to my evangelistic ministry, this is how it has happened. I'm ministering. God tells me that person, a cripple, I have healed him. Then I'm saying, you know, why am I doing that? Who can tell me? Why am I doing that? I'm doing that to generate feeling of power. Because when God told me I've healed that person, I'm still normal. I'm not feeling any fire. No goose pimples, no shaking. I'm not shivering. I'm not doing like this. So if God is telling me to lay hands on a cripple to walk, at least I should feel some things, right? Come on, talk to me. If you were me, won't you like to feel something? Oh, you know, your body is burning. But that is the time my body will burn nothing. So I can be there forever, just shouting, waiting for the fire to come. But in my case, nothing comes. You know, when the fire comes, when I step out and I tell the person, God says you have been healed, and I go to the person and take the person's crooked hand, it is when I do that that the power comes. It's like God stepping in on the path of obedience. And I don't always like that. So when I came to America, I discovered that America lives on budgeting. You even have to budget your prayer time. You budget your fasting, budget your prayer. Everything has to be well calculated. I'm talking to somebody today. And I started that life. So the miracle, you know, that always, because I lived my life before I came to America, always, every time you see me moving, I'm always expecting that something is going to happen. There is always this expectation, you know, something is going to happen. Something. It's like there is going to be an intervention. God is going to stop it. It's going to happen right now. And it always happened like that. Always. So that expectation. I never close my eyes one day to pray about the house, about the car, about anything. Back home, I used to do that. Because here, you don't pray about it. You want to buy a car, you go to the car lot and choose one credit card. Credit score, not even card, credit score. The faith factor is there. Are you still here today? Am I communicating? So that is an aspect of our spiritual life that many of us have lost. What if I am like those couple and God wants me to do a party for 1,000 people? I only have money to feed 100. Am I supposed to cancel the party? Am I supposed to still do it? If I ask my uncle for an advice, what do you think he will advise me to do? Yeah. So those are the hypothetical questions. Now, after that, they did the wedding. The wedding was taking place, and then the wine finished. The wine finished. Then the mother of Jesus was there. She came to Jesus. If there's a party going on, and the wine finished, what should happen to the party? Go home. I'm talking about miracle mentality. We are doing a party, right? Too many people came, and there's no more wine. Sorry, you don't even have to announce it. By the time you are no more serving anything, well, let's go. Everybody sounds good, right? Everybody sounds good. Yeah. But Mary came to Jesus and said, wine is finished. Why was he telling Jesus wine is finished? Was it just for him to know? Why was he telling him wine is finished? It is a miracle mentality. Even though wine is finished, because Jesus is here, something can happen. If you were to ask Mary what will happen, she may never have told you what will happen. But it's the fact that if Jesus is here, something should happen. So all I need to do is just tell him they have no wine. Do you understand what I'm saying? That is a miracle. So a person with a miracle mentality does not end a thing, allows room for the supernatural, does not give up at the end of everything, always say, okay, but something can still happen. Does that make sense? Why are we quick in closing the pages of our lives? You open to a page of your life, then you just close it. Why do you close it? Because you think it's over. Right? Because you are 50 years old, so you close the page. Because you are 60, close the page. What is wrong with just acknowledging a fact and leave it there? Come on, are you here? So she tells Jesus, they have no wine. And Jesus himself knew why Mary was saying, so, Mom, what do you want me to do? Mary said, I don't know. I'm just telling you that there is no. Usually, people who have miracles don't always determine what happens. They only have one thing, expectation. Whatever you want to do, just do it. But I'm just telling you what the problem is. We should make prayer never to be a difficult thing. The reason why many of us don't pray is because we always calculate the end before we pray. This thing I want to, next thing I want to bring from God cannot go in. I mean, goes on that, there's no need to pray in mountain. Are you God? Are you God? Are you God? Why don't you just pray and leave it? why God? Mary didn't know exactly what was going to happen. But she told that Jesus was there. There's no wine, period. You are just reporting a case. That is what prayer is. Let heaven hear whatever heaven has to hear. If heaven decides to do nothing, let heaven do nothing. Just talk about it. Come on, are you here today? Don't play God. You are not God. So, Mary said, so Jesus Christ said, Mom, I know you. I know you. You've been expecting me to do some things because of the things you were told about me. But you have forgotten that my time has not yet come. Mary said, I don't know. This is the time. See your hands. I'm just telling you. So, and she left. As she was leaving, she turned to the servants. Said, make sure you don't leave his presence. Anything he asks you to do, don't be stupid. Do it. I know more than you. I know more than you. So don't be stupid. Because as I live now, he may tell you to do some stupid things. Don't refuse to do those stupid things because they are stupid. Whatever he asks you to do, do it. Mary prepared them for stupid things. Are you here today? Because if Mary had not prepared them for the stupid things, they probably would not have done the stupid thing. Because there is sense in no sense. So Mary left, and I like that. You know why I like that? Because that is what is difficult for us to do. You know what the Bible says? The Bible says, casting your care on him. Do you understand? Casting your what? What is another word for care? Worries, right? Casting your worries on him. That is what an American cannot do. Where we Americans don't do it. We Americans like to carry our problem. If I even ask you to come and help me, when you put your hand, I still hold a major part of it. Because my problem is my problem. That's why you don't hear an American saying the sickness. Americans don't use the word the sickness. They say my sickness, my headache, my asthma, my cancer, my. They don't use the, my. This my asthma will kill me. They own it. They don't let it go. We like to take possession of things. That is why we women cannot allow our men to be men. When a woman tells the husband about what the son has done, she cannot let it be for the man to act, to take an action based on what he thinks. She's still going to micromanage what the man does. That's American women for you. You know what your son dings, your son, and the man is saying, okay. Is that all you are going to say? Won't you do something about it? No, I will. Yeah, that is American woman for you. She tells you, and after telling you, she also wants to tell you what to do and how to do. She doesn't want to give you room to even think, because we like to be in charge. So we carry it to spirituality, that even when we are sick and God says, carry your burden, put in my hands, we say, God, this is my problem. Hold that side. Let me hold this side. So God holds one. And God said, no, leave it. Let me help you. No, Lord, hold that side. Let's do it together. The mindset. But look at Mary. Oh, Jesus, and left. She wasn't trying to control, the kind of, it's not like saying, in case you want to make wine, make sure you do the black wine, not the white one. Make sure. She wasn't trying to micromanage anything. She just talked about the problem. No red wine, white, he doesn't care, but her concern was that the party must go on. But even if you decide not to even do anything and the party ends, it's okay. But at least I have told you something. So she left. That is a miracle mentality. So she left. And such a thing puts a burden on the person you have given the burden to. Because if I know that you have put your life in my hands totally and you so trust me, and I see you turn your back and walk away and give me everything, it puts a burden on me not to disappoint you. But if you give me a work to do and you are still doing half of it, I can go and rest a little bit. That's why God is resting on behalf of some people. Because we have never really known what it means to cast our cares on Jesus. Yeah. So it's a mentality. So why is there no God? No, God has never changed. We have to learn how to walk with God. So everything was now, this is Jesus. He loves the mother. He knows what he's capable of doing. The mother just told him something and just left. The servants are there looking at him. What are you guys doing here? Oh, didn't you hear what your mom said? Your mom said, we're at your beck and call. Anything you say, we should do. So what shall we do? Do you understand that? Ready? Everything, the burden was now on Christ. I pray that you leave all your burdens for God. Nobody was telling Jesus what to do. Nobody was telling God what to do. They were not telling him white wine or red wine or yellow wine. No, everything was in God's hand. That is why, you see, God wants us to respect his sovereignty. Respect the sovereignty of God. You see, oh my God, are you here today? Yeah. Oh, can you say you love somebody, don't even trust the person? So Jesus, remember I'm talking about miracle mindset, right? A person with a miracle mindset is always looking for what is available, not what is not available. So, okay, Jesus now looked around. What did he see? Pause. That's what he saw. You know why? Because God uses things to create things. But those things are not measured. So God can use anything to create anything. So he uses things. He looks for things. That is why when he wanted to show Moses a miracle by the burning bush, what he said is, what is that in your hand? God uses what you have to give you what you want. When Samson was attacked by the Philistines, what did he do? He looked around. That's miracle mentality. Somebody with a miracle mentality is always looking around for what is available. Do you understand? He looked around. What did he see? He saw the jawbone of an ass. He took it. Miracle mentality makes you take anything that is available. What is available is interpreted by miracle mindset as an instrument of grace. When Jesus wanted to feed 5,000, look at it. Philip came. Master, we've been here for 3 days. Everybody is hungry. It's getting late. So what should we do? Let them go. Why? Because everybody is hungry. That's not a miracle mentality. Miracle mentality is, can we do something about it? No miracle mentality. There's nothing. Even if we were to buy the whole world, it cannot solve it. No. Jesus, what do we have? We don't know. Go and see. They went around. Master, nothing. But there's a young boy that has 5 loaves of bread. That's good. Let's get it. Let's use what is there to get what is not there. How many of you need miracles? So, miracle mentality, you know why we cry? We cry because of what we don't have. We celebrate because of what we have. We cry because of what we don't have. Why we cry is because usually when we finish praying, we are still thinking about what God has not yet done. We are not looking at what can be done with what is already there. I want $100,000. I have only 1,000. My attention is not on the 1,000. My attention is on the 100,000. As long as I do that, the miracle will never take place. A miracle mentality immediately begins to say, I asked God for 100,000. I have 1,000. What can I do with 1,000? Because God creates my miracle from what I already have. A miracle produces a miracle. The 1,000 in my hand is a miracle. That is what God is going to use to give me what I want. Do you understand? If you want a field of corn, you plant a seed of corn. So what is there? Pot of water. Okay, check. Is there water inside? No. All right. We cannot get wine, but can we get some water? Yes. 7 of them. Can you fill them up with water? There's no wine, but there's water. There's no wine, but there is water. There is no wine, but there is water. There is no wine, but there is water. Yeah. What don't you have? What do you have? What do you have? So fill it with water. That's a miracle mindset. That God can use, can turn anything. That's what it means to make a way. When you hear God say, God makes a way where there is no way, it means that he makes wine out of water. That's what it means. So they fetched it out. He didn't say taste it. They took it. Can you imagine that you were the person, Kaya? You're the person, right? I'm Jesus. And then you know the story of the church. You know we don't have money, we don't have anything. And you are one of the people that fetch water in the pot. And I'm saying, people are already in church, take from that water, go and serve it. I know Kaya would not like to look stupid before the people. She would not like to look stupid before the people. Are you here today? I'm just, you see the way she's laughing. See the way she's laughing. That laughing is loaded. Because it's like, what's that? What's that? Can you imagine? Okay, so I'm just going to carry water and serve people. I think we need some foolishness in church. So, and this guy, they just fetched. They didn't look. They just fetched and start serving. So the question is this: at what point did the water become wine? Was it when they poured it inside? You know, the Bible didn't tell us that. Even if I was there and the water became wine inside the pot, and you ask me to go serve people, I will still not do it. Yeah, I will say, I don't want to go and serve somebody and the person now takes it and dies. They will say I'm the one that killed him. So, Jesus, can you taste it first? Let's see. So, my teaching today is trying to establish a fact with us that if we are going to enjoy our God, we must come to that place where we consciously begin to work on ourselves to build in us a mindset of the miraculous, where we are not just living our lives only by the things we can measure or by the things we can understand or that the things we can explain. Because if all we have to do is the things we can explain, things we can understand, then we put God out of the equation of our lives. But if we are natural people and once in a while we just want something extraordinary to happen to us to prove and authenticate who we are before the world, then we must think a little bit higher than that natural thing. We must be people. There must be that God factor in everything we do. So that, yes, plan. So that after all our planning, let's leave room for God. Does that make sense? And that is where I am right now. I want to be able to make my plans and make room for God. Because even though I told you I didn't like the way God leads me, but there's a level of excitement in it. There's excitement. Just knowing that God will not fail. Just knowing. I remember, I'll be telling you guys a lot of stories. But this, I'm starting from the ones you have heard over and over and over. That's what are very easy. I remember me traveling with my family to a country to go do crusades for 1 month. And I've fasted, I have prayed, and I have no money. I only had enough money to take me to the first city I would land in. Why does God do that? So I got to the place, was able to pay for my hotel for 1 night. Say with me, 1 night. It's not that God couldn't give me money from where I was coming from. I think that God, because he knows that my journey, my crusade is a miracle crusade, he starts building my faith for the miraculous from day one. Because expectation is the breeding ground for the miraculous. So God was using all those things to train me to always expect something good will happen. Something good will happen. But I didn't understand it then. But now I understand it now. So I get to the place, I pay for my hotel room, no money for dinner, no credit card, no money for dinner. I take out my tie, I step out of the hotel room, I walk to the roadside, by the roadside, and I am just pacing. by the roadside, just pacing by the roadside. A man with a family in their hotel, pacing by the roadside. I fasted and prayed. I'm going to start a crusade somewhere. Crusade that a lot of money will be spent for years. There's nothing. Pacing around. And then suddenly a young boy comes around driving a power bike. The guy passed, power bike passed, turned around, came back to where I was and stopped and said, "Hey, Apostle, I know you. Hey, where did you know me? Yeah, where you came last year and you were preaching in Tamale. I was there. What are you doing here? Oh, I came to town. I'm doing some meetings. Wow, is there anything I can do for you, sir?" It's okay. Then I just asked, I said, "Yeah, I'm supposed to be traveling to that same town that you talked about. It's like somebody flying from Atlanta to Washington, D.C. So, and I asked him, I said, "Yeah, what about your pastor? Your pastor that I was preaching for when you met me? How is he doing?" "Oh, sir, there is a convention going on in town and it starts today. And that my pastor will be coming to town. And in fact, now that convention should be starting right now. If you don't mind, I can take you there. I don't know if you can sit on my bike." I said, "Why not?" I jump on the bike. This young man drives me to the big convention center. The place is so big, there are over 10,000 people seated. Over 10,000 people. Big meeting. And then I get there. People are outside everywhere. And then I stand there. And then very soon he sees a man coming with his big robe and the guy is coming. And he says to me, "That is the pastor of this church that your friend you are talking about is coming to preach for. So let us approach him and find out whether he is already in town." So I approached him and told him, "Oh, I am Apostle Echo, so-and-so. I am here. I learned that Bishop so-and-so is coming to preach in your convention. Is he in town? Has he arrived yet?" "Oh, sorry about that. He just called to say he missed his flight. So he's not going to be around." "Okay, God bless you." I turn my back and I'm walking away. And this pastor calls me back. He doesn't know me. Calls me back and said, "Man of God." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "As you turned back to go, the Lord spoke to me that you are the one preaching tonight." I said, I don't even have my Bible. I'm not prepared. He took his Bible, he said, "Take." I said, "I don't have a tie." He called the young man, removed the guy's tie, gave it to me to put on. He said, "You will start preaching in 10 minutes. So I walked with him into the church. In front, I looked back and I saw the crowd of people. Meanwhile, I don't know what to preach. As soon as he got there, he walked outside to take the microphone because he was going into church because it was time for him to start preaching. He goes there and picks the microphone and is telling them, "You guys will think your pastor is stupid. The guy who is preaching to us tonight, I don't even know his name." So, meanwhile, I am saying, "Lord, speak to me. What am I going to preach? What am I going to preach?" Suddenly, I heard a voice from heaven. "Affliction shall not arise the second time." Okay, I know it's in the Bible. I don't know where it is. I took the concordance. I began to check concordance. "Affliction shall not arise the second time." I saw it open to us. Okay. The moment I saw it, there's no preparation, point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4. No, the next thing is, let's welcome our guests. All I knew was that I got to the front and I began to preach. Of course, at this time, you knew that time is not what I had prepared to preach. It was prophetic. The Lord took over. The whole church was on their feet. The whole place was on fire. I finished preaching. I dropped the microphone. I walked out. And as I was going, the guy ran after me. I sat on the bike. He said, "Did you come with a bike?" I said, "Yes." He said, "God forbid." And he went and brought some of the various cars they have around. And then the guy put his hand in his pocket and gave me some money the kind of money all my life I have never seen before. Never. Never in my life. The poor man suddenly became a rich man in less than 1 hour. I had money for all my travels in town, for my crusades, for my programs, for my flights, for my transportations, for everything. I had money for everything out of a preaching of less than 30 minutes. Preaching that was not planned for. It is exciting after it has taken place, but not before. What a mighty God we serve. What a mighty God we serve. Heaven and earth adore him. Angels bow before him. What a mighty God we serve. So you see, people of God, my meeting, my teaching today is just to bring us to that place. I just want to bring you to that place where we can begin to live our lives differently. How many of you would like to add a little bit of expectation into your life? Just a little, start from somewhere, right? Yeah, don't just think that everything that will happen to you has to be what you plan for. 1 + 1 must always be 2. Yes, we know that's maths, but there's something wrong in thinking a little bit above that. That's what it means to be a Christian. At least have a little bit of expectation of surprises. How many of you like surprises? Yeah, some little bit of surprises. Just good ones. Just expect that in your lifetime, surprises are good. You just open your mouth and say, wow. It tells you one thing, that God cares about you. There have been times when I thought God was against me. But when some of those things happen, I cry. Really, I say, God, you mean you are really with me? You know, there's just, you don't see God physically, but it looks, how you feel is that you feel like God putting his hand on your shoulders. Just like God saying, hey, boy, you thought I left you. I didn't. I have felt like that several times. You know, I'm not talking about physical God, but no, there's just that feeling. Because quietly, because some things happen to us in life. We may not say it, but we begin to think that maybe we are alone. That God doesn't care that you are alone. That's why people commit suicide. That's why people give up. Because you begin to feel like you are just all by yourself. But because we leave room for the God factor, then we are able to see those little surprises. God just gives you a little token. Say, take this. Just to let you know that, okay, even though you can't see me, I'm here with you. Yeah. So we must consciously build it. That's where I started from. We must do what? Because it's called the working of miracles. For every miracle that happens, there is people consciously creating environments for God to nurture the miraculous. Yeah. So that's why the story we just talked about, Mary, you just see how the whole thing, it didn't just happen. It didn't just happen. The people having their party, Mary, Jesus, the servants, they were all part of the team that produced that made water into wine. I need teams like that in this church. I need teams like that. Can you imagine if all of us, Sister Valerie, Aliyah, all of us, why we're all just thinking the same way? Can you rise on your feet?